You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Wasn't actually expecting my face to appear on that part, but here we are. This is Force 13 Live, and we are tracking the first significant event of this hurricane season, really. Well, of course, we had Tropical Storm Alberto, but this is Beryl, and it is becoming a significant concern for the central regions of the Lesser Antilles. Well, the Windward Islands, Barbados, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, and Grenada are all in the crosshairs for this potential hurricane, likely to become a hurricane probably as soon as tonight, the way it's going. The last National Hurricane Center Intermediate Advisory went with 60 mile per hour winds and a pressure of 999 millibars, and we're hearing, at least from the ATCF, that they're probably going to notch it up another level to 65 miles per hour and 998 millibars at the next National Hurricane Center Advisory. We're here to discuss this for just the 1 hour at the moment, but we're probably going to be doing more live coverage tonight to get more updates on this storm as it's progressing. Obviously, time is pretty sensitive on this as it's getting closer to Barbados first of all, and I've been scurrying to try and get all the stuff ready for the live event. One thing I haven't got ready yet is the National Hurricane Center cones, but we'll be able to get that up for you in just a short while. In the meantime, let's introduce everyone. My name's Nathan Foy here in the studio, and I'll be fronting the stream today, obviously, and we've got our team with us. Quite a few people right now. We have Maury, Cesar, Justin, and JJ joining us all from stateside, and Cesar there in Mexico. And you, yes, and Cesar, I just want to point out that you were somewhat affected by Alberto just a couple of weeks ago.
Hello, Nathan and everyone in the stream. Yeah, I've been affected by Alberto. I mean, it's been a really much needed rain here in Mexico since we've been struggling with a severe drought, at least in the past 3 years. And the rain that Alberto left in my hometown, Monterrey, it's been the highest since Hurricane Alex of 2010. Some destruction actually occurred here in Monterrey, but not really to be to take in consideration or to be like as such devastation as it happened previously with Alex, but well, it was well received in general. It's been a good time since then, and just cloudy and sunny sometimes, but the weather has been really good, reaching only 29, 30s and not the 40s before Alberto arrived, but all good here.
There's the National Hurricane Center cone for Beryl. We got that up now, and you can see the little pink coloring there is the Hurricane Watch for Barbados, and we expect that they'll probably get pushed into warnings fairly soon. The usual guide for issuing a hurricane warning is with a 48-hour lead time, and you can quite clearly see there that it's expected to swipe the island early on Monday morning, so we're already into mid-Saturday morning now, so we are expecting, I would issue a hurricane warning at this point for Barbados and possibly even some of those other islands, but we'll see what happens when the National Hurricane Center update at the top of the hour. So let's go back to the rapid scan satellite imagery and the other satellite views that we're looking at right now and bring in Justin, and you've been watching this storm a lot in the last couple of days, and you think it's well ahead of schedule.
Yeah, I honestly, from what I saw when the National Hurricane Center first started issuing advisories on it, let me pull this up real quick, because I remember they were originally forecasting like a low to mid-range tropical storm by this morning. And Alberto right now, not Alberto, Beryl rather. Sorry, I see they were talking about Alberto, and
sorry about that.
Don't mind me. Beryl is already, at this point, could almost call this rapid intensification. And not only that,
Steady.
but Beryl also has the classic shrimp look that you would typically see with storms that are about to explode.
Yep. It's looking pretty decent. I saw earlier on the infrared imagery, there was a little bit of a gap there that might have been some kind of maybe mid-level eye. I'm not sure where it's gone, actually. This latest imagery, I'm not seeing it anymore. But when I was producing the bulletin, which wasn't that long ago, I saw that appear.
Actually, Nathan. Actually, I'm looking at the advisory of when it became a tropical storm. By this point, this was when it was first issued, like when they first named it. Originally, by this time of the day, it was only supposed to be a 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm.
Well ahead of schedule.
So Beryl is already exceeding expectations in that department.
And there's a long or large area of uncertainty, not just with its extended track as we get towards the 5-day period, but also with how strong it's going to be at that point. That's going to be the biggest sticking point, is just how strong it will be able to get, and how easy it is to foresee any challenges that the storm will have. The most obvious one will be land interaction if it moves north of expectations, or north of the cone there, into Hispaniola, which of course is well known for annihilating storms, and Cuba to a lesser extent as well. But if it continues to drift south, and you look at that National Hurricane Center cone, the 8 a.m. update position, they don't update the entire cone at the intermediate advisory, they just do a position update. And you can see how it's got a bit of an unnatural bend there at the beginning of that forecast cone. It's because the storm's moved a little bit south and a little bit faster than expected. So that's favouring a further south track along that cone there, maybe even close to the southern extent of that cone. And that means much more sea areas that it'll be passing over, and all of that oceanic heat content that we've been looking at on some of our charts in the last few days, all along that area is pretty prime right now for substantial development. So the only thing that can really stop it is wind shear, which might get to maybe moderate levels just for a brief period as it gets close to the Windward Islands, and again in the Western Caribbean, and or dry air intrusion. Still quite a lot of Saharan dust over there in the Eastern Caribbean, but all across Beryl right now, I mean, there's plenty of dust around, but it's not affecting it at one bit at the moment, so I don't think it will.
Yeah. I'm actually starting to wonder, the new full advisory should be out within the next half hour to an hour or so. Wonder if they're gonna actually shift the entire cone south.
I'll have to double check where its actual position is at this very second, because if it is, again, even further south than that forecast, then they've got no choice but to shift the cone south.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm just gonna check some of this imagery right now. You can watch.
Go
ahead.
And also the warning advisories are going to change if it shifts more south than it's expected.
I think they've got to issue those warnings by now. You can follow along with me now as I look at Slider, which is one of the RAM products, and when it first started out, it was very clunky, and I didn't like it very much, but it tends to be my weapon of choice these days, the Slider site. So you can clearly see the storm, and if we try and get a position estimate on it right now, just play the loop and see exactly where it is. Quite difficult. Let's see if we can get just an infrared overlay, see if that helps us out a little bit there. Try and figure out exactly where the center is. That actually doesn't really help very much, but a big burst of convection you can clearly see there. So I'd probably place the center somewhere around here. That would be 9.5 north, 47.5 west. So yeah, I'm trying to figure it out compared to the National Hurricane Center's website, and
they have 9 point. Yeah, it's further south. They have it at 9.8, 46.8.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the next, the first point of their cone, which is at about, yeah, so I'm trying to figure this out mentally right now. I think it's actually slightly outside the cone at the minute.
Ooh, interesting.
So that means that the implications will probably increase there for St. Vincent and the
Further south
Grenadines,
track.
Grenada,
And a further south track as a whole.
and Tobago. But I think it will only be a marginal change, but of course it could make all the difference. If you've got any questions or comments for us whilst we're on the air for this hour, please send them in. We're here to...
We actually have one right now. North Carolina Storms asked, when was the last time we had a Cat 3 in late June, early July?
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, but I think, yeah, certainly for June, it's never in this region. Of course, you had Hurricane Audrey in 1957.
I think he means like as a whole, though.
Hurricane Audrey was a strong Category 3 that hit the Gulf in June 1957, of course. But for this region, which a lot of people are comparing to, there's only one thing that comes close, and that was Hurricane 2 in 1933, which hit Trinidad as a Category 1 hurricane in late June. After that, you've got Elsa in 2021, which became a Category 1 around the 3rd or 4th of July, just before striking the Lesser Antilles. But
well, I mean, if you look at the early July aspect of it, you have Hurricane Dennis in 05.
Yes, Dennis as well. But the way this is going right now, it could beat all of those. If it becomes a Category 2 before the Windward Islands, then it is pretty much in a company of none.
Yeah.
And I don't know percentage-wise, but it's what the National Hurricane Center... Are they forecasting the Category 2 before the islands?
Yeah, when it initially became a tropical, they were forecasting 105 mile per hour peak. Now they're forecasting it. But from the 5 a.m. advisory, they bumped it up to 110.
I'm just wondering if it's before the islands, though. They're expecting Category 2 early on the 1st of June, which is completely lost my days now, Monday. So, yeah, it is before the islands. So, yeah, certainly quite impressive then, if that takes place, and it's on the cards, clearly. All right, well, we'll wait and see what the National Hurricane Center say at the end of the hour, but let's get some more questions. What are our thoughts on the cone towards Jamaica? Already, Jamaica has about a 35 to 40% chance of storm force winds. And I would say it is going to be a pretty safe bet that Jamaica will see some kinds of impacts from this storm. Not necessarily big impacts, but well, we don't really know yet. But I think tropical storm force winds are a decent possibility for the whole island of Jamaica there, and for that general area around Haiti, southern Cuba, and maybe the Cayman Islands. And what's the chances of rapid intensification to Category 3? It's certainly not out of the...
Yeah, not out of the question, but right now it's low, if I were to say.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, if you say that the National Hurricane Center are right in the middle, 50% either side, and they're calling for a high-end Category 2, then you would suggest that...
Yeah, you could do 50-50.
You know, probably about a 40% chance that it reaches Category 3 based on that, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. Could be a significant moments in weather history or cyclone history. But yeah, and actually, turning back to the Jamaica cone, that the question that was previously asked, I mean, not many cyclones actually travel directly over Jamaica. I mean, it's a 5-day forecast, and everything could change in a 5-day forecast. But at least the cone that it's with the last advisory that NHC just released, it's pointing out that Jamaica will actually get a direct hit by Beryl, which is going to be actually some kind of interesting to see. When was the last time a tropical cyclone actually striking the island of Jamaica, which actually not usually occurs, even that it's in the middle of the Caribbean Sea, and many cyclones go through there.
Now, there's plenty of wriggle room around Jamaica, and it's interesting that the shape of the island means that it's typically harder for storms to actually hit it. It's sort of facing the storms as they come through the Caribbean. Although in the late season you can get some storms that hit it sideways, like Hurricane Sandy, for instance. That did it in 2012.
I actually another one. I have Grace in 2021 hit the island as a tropical storm.
Yep, that was the last one to do it, and before that it was Sandy. So it is, not that common. Maybe twice every 10 years, looking at the stats there. Either way, Jamaica still has seen plenty of storm impacts without getting a landfall. I mean, you don't really want us to get hooked up on whether things make landfall or not to be impactful, because especially even with the smaller islands, of course, it's harder for a storm to hit that needle in the haystack to make a landfall on these islands, but they can still get the strongest winds, because let's not forget the strongest winds of a storm are not in the middle of it, because that's the eye. If it's a strong storm, it's usually on the northeastern quadrant in the eye wall.
I'm actually looking at, they actually have, ironically enough, a Wikipedia article of hurricanes that directly impact Jamaica.
All right.
The earliest recorded one, August 28th, 1712.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What did that one do?
It literally is just a short sentence. It says many homes and plantations were destroyed by a passing hurricane.
Yeah. And again, that says passing hurricane. It doesn't imply it actually made landfall.
It says here, a total of 53 storms have impacted Jamaica.
Yep. Okay. Let's throw it back.
The most recent one, hurricane. No, this is just specifically hurricanes, by the way. Most recent hurricane was, of course, Elsa, obviously. In
that
2021.
was close by. I think it was down to a tropical storm by that point, though. But let's see what else we've got here for some more questions. Will there be any ridges or troughs steering the storm north towards Texas and go into the Midwest states? Well, that is another.
To be determined.
That's another part that's up for debate. I saw, I'm sure probably one of you guys shared a tweet about how Dennis was not very well forecasted and it went north of expectations because it was pulled up. And the stronger the storm gets, the more chance that it will get lifted into, the Greater Antilles possibly, if it does it early, or if it's further along, then, it could end up sweeping up towards Cuba and Florida, and then maybe even towards Texas. So really not sure on what's going to happen with that yet. But if it does hit anywhere in the US, for instance, well, it's going to be beyond the 5-day period, so it's quite a ways away yet. Indications are showing, the GFS earlier on was suggesting that that Beryl would strengthen again in the Gulf of Mexico and hit Texas. But interestingly, all of the ensemble models from the GFS, none of them picked up on that. They all had the storm dying off, either hitting the Yucatan and dying, or just literally dying off in the Western Caribbean before it enters the Yucatan Channel, which I find quite suspect, but maybe wind shear does that because it is quite high in the Western Caribbean.
Yeah, it's probably due to wind shear.
Another comment there. How about the 70% AOI behind Beryl? Does it have a chance to become a strong hurricane? I didn't know they put it up to 70%, but I would agree with them. It's got
not at 70, it's at 60.
Well, I'll tell you what, I would agree with 70% right now. I was considering doing that earlier on. But it's...
Yeah, it's 20% for 2 days, 60% for 7 days, and actually just while I'm touching base on the other invest, the other one, Invest 94 all is at 40 and 40 for 2 and 7.
Yep, that's unchanged since last night. But this second storm behind Beryl, absolutely, could become another hurricane behind it there. And what models have been showing is that it's taking a pretty similar track. You may have seen it on the Tropical Weather Bulletin earlier on today. The track through the Lesser Antilles is pretty much the same behind Beryl, and then it moves north a little bit quicker, and it gets completely destroyed by the Dominican Republic and the mountains there, and it dies off very quickly. although it still manages to deliver high amounts of rainfall. There could be all three systems right now are currently expected to drop up to 12 inches of rain in some locations, 300 millimeters. In the case of Beryl, if it goes further north, it will be for Haiti, possibly, and Cuba. If it's 94L, it's going to be in sort of southeastern Mexico, south of Cesar there. And if it's the third system, it will be a little bit further east over Santo Domingo and the Dominican Republic there.
Wakey.
Yeah, well, the Atlantics are very much in wakey mode right now, that's for sure.
Absolutely, but I mean it's quite interesting that we are going to have back-to-back hurricanes in this particular period of time, since it's not very common to see, and in the main developing region, since it's a really well, the conditions generally are not favorable for tropical cyclone development, or at least intense tropical cyclone development. And well, we've been watching the conditions in the ocean. The Saharan dust, it's quite high actually in the rest of the Atlantic Ocean, and some high accumulations as well in the Caribbean Sea. That's why Beryl is expected to have some weakening trend, and also the wind shear, which is expected to increase when it gets in the Caribbean Sea. That's in the next 3-day period forecast, if I'm not mistaken.
What's going to help Beryl is its beautiful structure, though. It's not really got a weakness down the northern side for dry air intrusion, at least at the moment. It doesn't look like that will happen. But you're right, if we look back at the wide shot of the Atlantic here on this beautiful true color imagery from GOES 16, you can see a big sort of a hazy patch there, north and northwest of Beryl, and that's a big area of Saharan dust that's blowing across the Atlantic right now. But it doesn't seem to be impeding this storm, or indeed those thunderstorms in front of it that are just about to reach Trinidad right now. So I am skeptical, to say the least, that it will have an impact on the storm. Although what I might say is it might reduce rainfall in the outer bands on the northern side. So those northern Leeward Islands, what I was looking with rainfall expectations, some places might only get maximums of 50 millimeters, which isn't a huge amount for a tropical storm passage.
Yeah, it's about 2 inches of rain.
Yeah, 2 inches. I'd like to thank.
That's not much, honestly.
I'd like to thank the Awesome Guys World for joining us. Membership there. Thanks for joining us. And any lightning in Tropical Storm Beryl from Hurricane Altony Bron, and what is the cloud top temperature of the storm?
The lightning, I will look up right now, actually.
I'm going to look that up as well. With cloud top temperatures, I think there might be 1 or 2 hot towers there that are pushing -80s right now.
We were talking about that earlier.
As of now, there is no lightning with Beryl. As of now.
I find that hard to believe.
Well, I'm looking at lightningmaps.org and it's showing nothing right now.
I'm not sure a lightning map would. But GOES 16 can detect lightning. Have we looked at that?
I'm gonna look at that right now.
Hello?
Well, I'm looking at lightning.
Oh, we got a few people joining us right now. We have Jose there as well, over there in the US, and we've got Jan with us as well over here in Europe, which is where I am as well. So nice to have you both on board. I don't know if you have any thoughts on the storm right now as we continue to chat about it ahead of the National Hurricane Center's advisory, but the floor is yours.
I'm just trying to pull up lightning data right now.
Yeah, I'm going to swap slides here for a minute and see if I can go to Noah Star, and that might show some lightning views, if there is any in the storm. Let's have a look. Is it that one? Yes, it's that one. Okay. We're just working behind the scenes here. Okay, yes, there are little bits of lightning going on in the storm. Let me show you this. So this is what we've got. This is the lightning mapper from Go 16. Those little green flashes there, those are lightning. I don't know if it's like individual flashes or phases of lightning strikes. I've never really understood this imagery, but that gives you sort of a general idea of where the lightning is in relation to the storm. It's all mainly on the northwestern side, that band, and a little bit near the center as well, just earlier on. More lightning near the center does sometimes or usually indicate a strengthening core. Not seeing much of that yet, but either way, the storm's still looking pretty good. Plenty more questions here. I'm going to try and keep up with them. What's the maximum strength do you think Beryl could reach? A few models are calling for a Category 4, although that is the vast minority. That's a bit of a contradiction. Category 4, according to some models, although we know what their form is like, don't we? I mean, some of the Hurricane models can go off the deep end quite often. So the conditions could be there for it. I wouldn't say no to that, but the chances of it at the moment are pretty low, and if we're going to be realistic about it, and it doesn't really do any help to anyone on the ground to forecast something that might not, be towards the higher end of what's reasonable. But I think it's certainly reasonable to forecast a borderline Category 3 out of this, which is what the National Hurricane Center are currently doing. Let's go to Jose, who's showing us some more National Hurricane Center graphics. There's the wind probabilities and the earliest reasonable arrival time of storm force winds. I don't know if you want to talk about that, Jose, or if you're just showing us. My
bad. I thought I had trouble with my mic right now.
That's all right. Well, you can see there, according to
Jose.
that cone. Thank you, Cesar. According to that cone there, Sunday evening, they're actually saying is the earliest reasonable arrival time for storm force winds in Barbados, and late Sunday night into early hours of Monday for pretty much all of the Lesser Antilles there. And then you get into Tuesday, you're looking at the Greater Antilles by that point. Wednesday, it could get to Cuba by then. Of course, given that it is moving faster than expected, I think we might take that a little bit more seriously those times, because they are weighted a little bit on the early side, those earliest reasonable arrival times. Okay, yes.
I do want to plan out something about the wind shear that's might run into later on.
Yep.
And it's like, I do have it pulled up. About 20-40 knots probably.
Now, I find that interesting that it is showing high amounts of wind shear, or at least increasing amounts of wind shear, I think, or maybe just high amounts ahead of the storm. It's a fairly narrow ridge of wind shear, so I'm not sure what will happen there. I mean, I don't know what National Hurricane Center is saying about it, but when they update at the advisory at the top of the hour, they'll probably produce a discussion and mention it in there, and we'll see what their thinking is. What you would see, if my face wasn't in the way, though, is on the Western Caribbean side there's a large bulk of high wind shear amounts as well.
Yeah.
And it's going to be touch and go for Beryl as it gets into that Western Caribbean region, as to how it manages with wind shear of probably 30 knots at times, which is it can be debilitating.
Yeah, when I first heard about I can't even pronounce the name. Barely?
It's only Beryl.
Beryl? When I heard about Beryl becoming a tropical storm, I first looked at the wind shear, and then when I noticed that it was starting to get high, and then I was rethinking about it becoming a hurricane, I'm like, first, I don't know how it might handle the wind shear by the time it gets to Barbados or the Leeward Islands. So I pretty much thought, I don't think it might become a hurricane, but yet it's still far out. We just don't know yet at this point if it actually will become one.
Oh, it will.
Yeah, and mostly the Saharan dust probably might be a little problem with it.
Well, it's surrounding the storm right now,
doing
but
well right now.
It's doing good. Thank you to the Hurricane Lee, not just any Hurricane Lee, but the Hurricane Lee, for joining us there, becoming a member. Thanks very much for joining us. Some other questions there. March 3258, nice to see you. Just curious, how strong was the strongest hurricane to form east of the Windward Islands this time of year? A bit of a mouthful, but like I said earlier, the only one to become a hurricane before reaching the Windward Islands was Hurricane 2 in 1933, a very long time ago. And is this tropical storm Beryl now bigger or smaller than the Beryl of 2018? I have no idea. Anyone want to take a guess on that one?
I have no clue.
No idea.
I mean, I would assume it would be bigger.
I would honestly say it's much bigger.
And Hurricane Alton Ebron says, during the tropical weather bulletin today, did I say that there are 2 more AOIs in the Atlantic and one has a high chance of becoming a hurricane? Yes, they do. We'll take a look at the latest GFS at the end. We can talk through that. Well, I don't know when we'll get to do that, but the advisory will go out and then I'll show you the models and then we'll finish up the stream. So hang tight for that. The chances of Beryl rapidly intensifying, some might say it's already happening, or maybe just shy of that threshold. Will the storm be a threat to the Caribbean? A very broad question. I'll give you a very broad answer, yes. And that's about it right now, I think. So, oh, I remember Beryl now, 2018. I mean, I've got a memory like a sieve. I don't remember any of the storms we've had. Beryl of 2018 was the absolutely tiny storm out in the open central eastern Atlantic. This is much bigger than Beryl of 2018. I do remember it now. It was tiny, that one. This one is still pretty small. Its winds only extend out 40 nautical miles in the northeast and northwestern quadrants, so it is relatively small. And what are the chances for Beryl to become a major? I would say
50-50, I would say.
Low.
almost 50-50, a little bit less than that. And someone talking about percentage numbers, whether it's the chance of tropical storm force winds. You'll have to... The ones that are on the screen right now on the left, that is for chances of tropical storm force winds. And those tables that appear on the left bar as well, those are the chances of tropical storm force winds in all those locations. I don't know if it was made clear in the text, so apologies if not. So we're back with this latest view of Tropical Storm Beryl, which, if you've just joined us, is strengthening. If we zoom out on this view on the rapid scan, if it doesn't break down on me, you can see the geography of the area, exactly where the storm is right now, quite far south really, and then expected to drift up towards the Lesser Antilles. And I think it is safe to say it is moving further south than expected. In fact, I can show you what the cone has. Where's the cone? There's the storm icon. I'm trying to get the National Hurricane Center's cone to work on. Oh, there it is. So look at that. And I'm not sure what that cone is. That's saying Category 3 for a while on there. Is that new?
Wait.
Wait, what?
I
I don't know.
that
No
is
way.
new.
Hold.
I don't know
I
what
think
that.
it's new.
Just the cone on this software is showing 4 Category 3 dots, which I'm not sure is true. So I'll have to.
I mean, I did look at this for a while. The model intensity guidance, mostly all of them is showing Category 3, but
That's something
sure.
new. That's never
So,
happened
yeah,
before.
like,
We'll have to hold the phone on that one and wait for the official advisory. But
Yeah.
I'd be very surprised if that's actually true, because that was indicating a Category 3 before, as it was reaching Lesser Antilles. But who knows? If the National Hurricane Center are confident enough, they might just go with that. We'll have to wait and see. So stay tuned on
I
that.
have many doubts. I have many doubts with it.
Yeah, I have doubts. I wouldn't personally
We probably have
forecast
to
that.
rapidly intensify
Yeah.
if it had to go to category 3 during before hitting the Lesser Antilles.
Certainly would. Yeah.
Bob just asked, will this storm reach the 3 to 5? Oh, wow, I was under Justin. Oh, my lord.
In English? What?
Bob just said in chat, will this storm reach the 3 to 5 valves on the Justin meter?
Oh no. Yes, I know exactly what he's talking about now. Jeez. It's Justin being overexcited as usual, yes.
I haven't gotten one from me yet, though, which is kind of surprising, honestly.
Does anyone,
Okay.
did anyone look at the sea surface temperature of it?
No.
Anomalies and
No, I didn't.
the regular sea surface.
Yeah, there they are. Sea surface temperatures are warm and getting warmer as the storm moves towards the Windward Islands. Currently around 27 to 28 degrees Celsius, will increase to 29 to 30 when it gets to the Lesser Antilles. So temperatures are on the rise. So if it doesn't have enough energy already, it's going to get some more injected a little bit later on.
By the way, the Hurricane Lee just asked if this is the latest start ever in the East Pack.
Well,
We're
if
approaching that threshold.
we don't get
2017 was quite active
if
in
we
the Eastern
don't,
Atlantic.
if we don't get a storm in the Eastern Pacific by July 6th, it's the latest start in the satellite era. Latest start since 1957 it would be. And if we get to the 1st of July, it's the latest start since 1964. So the Eastern Pacific is sick right now, as it's fair to say. It's not doing so well. We could reasonably expect the National Hurricane Center to update any time in the next 30 minutes here, so we're going to be waiting and seeing what they do at their update, and we'll bring the news to you as soon as it drops. But we just saw some odd forecast there that was unconfirmed before, and I'm not sure they're going to run with that, but I don't know where my software got fed that information, but it does have me wondering. Jose is also showing us some spaghetti models there. Well, the models track guidance from all of the quite a few of the various models there, and they're quite far south actually compared to what the cone is saying, so that's a pretty decent. In fact, you can just about make out the NHC at the very top there. It's threading the right hand side of those of that model consensus.
Hello, Chris.
We're joined by Chris and someone's telephone.
Oh, my bad.
By the way,
Right.
Nathan, I posted a picture in a live discussion regarding Beryl.
Oh,
If you want to share that on stream real quick. Beryl's really trying to get a core together now.
let's see if we can bring this to everyone here.
Oh, I noticed that.
All right, there's a microwave image, I assume it is, of Beryl. Yep, that's microwave, showing a beautiful swirly appearance. Quite hard to say whether there's something going on right in the center there, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see the beginnings of an eye pretty soon.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it looks like it's already trying to develop an eye in the center.
It's possible.
Yeah, it looks like it's wrapping up really well right now.
It is hoping to. I mean,
It's trying, definitely.
Oh yeah, there's a faint eye developing, yeah.
oh geez. So I don't know. I feel like this is going to become a hurricane tonight.
And
100%.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's heard any more info from Recon, but it's a bit disappointing, isn't it? We're not expecting a flight into the storm today.
Yeah, Recon did not play it out. No.
Which is, it's disappointing. It could have a Recon flight could contain vital information on this storm, especially with regards to is an eye developing right now.
Yeah.
It will be very useful, yeah.
I mean, Nathan, I don't know if you noticed the cloud top blow-ups on the satellite imagery that you were just showing, like a big one.
Yes, I'm looking at it right now, and you can see it as mainly swirling around the northeast side. Just those last few frames gets you wondering whether that's forming up the northeast side of an eye wall there or not. Big question right now, and something that we can't confirm yet, but it could be that this storm is really starting to get its act together, and is obviously, even if it isn't an eye yet, it is well on its way to becoming a hurricane. And we've also got to remind you as well that there are two other areas of interest right now, both at moderate chances of development. One entering the Bay of Campeche through the Yucatan Peninsula right now, which had a loose rotation earlier on as it was moving inland. That could become a brief tropical cyclone, although not expected to get very strong. Not even as strong as Alberto. And that second one, of course, which will be following in Beryl's footsteps. Big question really is whether Beryl can in some way disrupt that or influence it. But looking at some models suggesting that it could be 2 back-to-back hurricanes for this same region, which would be pretty concerning.
Wait, normally at this time of July, we do see some activity in the main development region, right? Normally,
Usually
it's like
weak
quiet
storms,
right now.
fairly
Not
weak
a lot.
storms.
Not a lot.
They tend to be fairly weak storms. Alex says, what's the earliest major to come from the main development region? Well, that's testing us. I'm not actually sure. I will try and find out for you.
One thing I do want to say about the models, it does seem like most of them do point towards Category 3 winds with this system. So, the reason why, if the NHC is going to go with Category 3, probably will be based on most of the models. It'll be based on model guidance.
Nathan.
I've got the answer for you regarding major hurricanes, and it only just managed to do it. It was Hurricane Allen, which reached Category 3 status just as it was reaching Barbados, which is sort of still main development region. The only other one that's sort of tenuous is Hurricane Bertha in 2008, which is a little bit further north, heading further out to sea. But it's it's pretty unfounded even in July to see a major form in the main development region. Go ahead.
A little bit of a side note, do you know where I can view the name list for the hurricanes?
The name list.
Yes, I want to check something.
Well, they'll be on the National Hurricane Center website. I mean, that'll be the official source, the World Meteorological Organization. They'll all have those naming lists.
Oh
So-
my god, I'm on there.
You're what? Oh yeah, you're next. That's right, Chris. You're next.
Yes, I am next. I am coming for all of you.
That's the next
Oh,
name on
no.
the list. It's Chris. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Nathan.
Yeah.
Bro.
Suddenly, Chris becomes a bird fart tropical storm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, right.
It peaks at 50 miles per hour, 1,002 millibar.
All right, Jose, what's up?
Oh,
Oh dear God, no.
in your perspective, in your mind, like, have you ever think
What is
that
that?
the letter B of the first name, not first name, but like in the name of the Atlantic hurricanes, like, do you
Yeah.
ever think this will be the first letter B to become a major hurricane?
It probably isn't the
If
first B
that's-
name to become a major hurricane. I can't think of any yet, but I'm sure we must have had one.
There probably is. We have
Because
late
I was
starts.
just thinking about it. I was like, I had never seen a single letter B to become like either a major hurricane.
No,
this
we
early.
we're just talking about it. Bertha. Oh, well, this early, maybe. Yeah.
This early, absolutely. It
And,
might be the earliest major.
I think the last B name to be a
record,
major. What was last year? I've forgotten already.
Brett?
Brett.
Right. Yeah.
And
Right,
the year
did not-
before, of course, it was Bonnie which did it. Bonnie did it. But it was in the wrong basin. It was in the
Oh
Eastern
yeah,
Pacific
I
by then.
remember.
Oh yeah.
I remember now. It was the
Yeah.
one that crossed over the Central America into the Eastern Pacific, coming in Cat 3.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yes.
Okay, yeah.
All
that's
right,
the one.
we've got plenty more questions whilst we wait for more info on Beryl. The update should be out anytime soon, and we'll have the info as soon as we get it. Crazy Plays Mapping wants to see recon. Well, we would, but there isn't any at the moment. They only expecting to go out
There's
tomorrow.
barely any data for
Why
recon.
become Barbados the only
And
one to have a watch?
what was the- what was the earliest Category 5 hurricane in the Atlantic? I think it's still Emily, isn't it?
Emily.
Yeah,
so
it's
far,
still Emily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
July 15th.
Yeah, that makes sense.
July 15th.
And
I think
what,
it was July 15th.
And what software do we use for computer models? What you see on the bulletins is WSV3, which I'll be showing you again later in the stream. Do we think Atlantic will complete the hurricane naming list this year? Some of our team think that it will blow out the naming list again this year. I am skeptical at this stage because of how slow a start we've had.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
a bit
We're
skeptical
aiming
too,
to pick up the
actually.
slack.
It could be
well.
close. It could be very close.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was expecting like a name storm
Let's
already
just-
in May.
Let's just say for now, we could be going into July with 3, maybe 4 named storms. You never know.
Oh, the
A
update
lot
is
of
out
people
right
get a
now,
lot of
and
season.
it is currently 65 miles per hour, 998 millibars.
Wow.
They are expecting a Category 3 on
Ooh.
the
Oh my
1st
God.
of
Ooh.
July. And they expect it to be at Category 3 status for 18 hours, I think. And I'm trying to figure out if it happens as it reaches the Lesser Antilles or not. So I think basically the cone that we did inadvertently show before might be correct.
So basically, we are going
that's
to
what the current
see
update to a major.
major
Not sure
hurricane
yet.
before striking, if not Barbados, at least the other islands of the Lesser Antilles, and it's going to be the first major hurricane in June since 1950 something, I think 57.
I don't know, I
No.
didn't hear that. But
I heard him
currently
major.
they're expecting it to reach major hurricane on the 1st of July.
First I was thinking the same thing when you said
It's not going to be in June.
today.
It's 29th. I forgot that it's already 29th. Excuse me.
So the breaking news with Beryl right now is that it is now expected to become a major hurricane on Monday as it moves through the Lesser Antilles. And
Well,
it is
that's good at least
expected
if it passes through.
to maintain that intensity for a little while as it moves into the Eastern Caribbean and then gradually start weakening. By day 5, they still expect it to be a Category 2. We don't have the public advisory yet, which would tell us about warnings, but I'm not sure. Yeah, they don't put it in the forecast advisory anymore, I don't think so. Oh, I'm sorry, day 5 it's down to Category 1. Day 4 is still Category 2 on that forecast. We'll show the cone as soon as it gets published, the official National Hurricane Center cone. But as of right now, the news that we've got is that we are expecting a Category 3 out of Beryl in a couple of days' time. And that is the National Hurricane Center. They're expecting major hurricane out of our number 2 for the season.
Wow.
Nathan,
Yeah.
can you look at your DMs real quick? I asked you a question.
I will in a moment. First of all, though, NATO Rat, thanks very much for your support. Could this storm shift into Florida as a tropical storm? There was one ensemble that actually had that happening, but nothing else does, I'm afraid. Well, not afraid. I mean, quite happy if there's
We don't
no
need
storm in
one
Florida. Redneck Lover 22 says, enjoying the stream whilst taking time off the road for the weekend. Thanks for joining us. And Hurricane Altony Braun just said, is it possible between land interactions for tropical tornadoes to form in Beryl? Always.
Oh, easily.
Always
Always,
possible.
yeah.
Very easily.
Probably on the northeastern side, I'm guessing. I mean, isn't that where they usually form?
Uh-huh. I saw your message, Chris. We'll be able to get an opportunity to do that in a few moments. Okay, we have a tropical storm watch for Martinique, a hurricane watch for St. Lucia, a hurricane watch for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and a hurricane watch for Grenada, and a tropical storm watch for Tobago. I am baffled that there aren't any warnings out yet. It is all still watches, so confirming that hurricane watch for Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadine Isles, and Grenada, and a tropical storm watch for Martinique and Tobago. There's the text right in front of you there, if you can read it from the National Hurricane Center there, with the update that they've just put out. 65 miles per hour, 998 millibars, and that's the latest moving west at 23 miles per hour, only just reaching 10 degrees north. That cone is going to get a southward shift. We'll wait to see what they do with it.
Yeah, I was just looking at it. Well, I
That
probably
is highly
haven't seen
surprising
it, but
that they haven't.
Yeah, I'm amazed they haven't issued warnings yet.
I mean, I believe it's more likely it'll reach the St. Vincent and the Grenadines rather than St. Lucia at this point.
Sad part is that Puerto Rico's radar cannot reach lower enough to get that. But the Windies radar can reach it, so that's sad part.
As soon as we get that new cone out, we'll let you know. I just want to read out some of the other information from the NHC right now. Hurricane conditions are possible in the hurricane watch areas Sunday night or Monday morning, with tropical storm conditions possible by late Sunday. Tropical storm conditions possible in the tropical storm watch areas by Monday morning. Life-threatening storm surge will raise water levels by as much as 5 to 7 feet above normal tides in the areas of onshore flow in the hurricane watch areas. Near the coast, the surge will be accompanied by large and destructive waves. Rainfall 3 to 6 inches across Barbados and the Windward Islands Sunday night into Monday may cause flooding in vulnerable areas. Nah, I'm amazed. They should be issuing warnings by now. If they're forecasting a Category 3 by the time it's hitting the islands on Monday morning, they should be issuing warnings on Saturday morning, which is now. So I don't know what to tell you about that.
Maybe we'll get them in the what's it called? The updated.
Yeah.
That's the only time that makes logical sense, at least.
The new cone
have a
is
major
out.
hurricane approaching the Leeward Islands.
We have the new cone here. There it is. So there's the big M for the first time this year. Major hurricane expected as it moves through the Windward Islands and for a time in the Eastern Caribbean there, and then taking it on towards the Western Caribbean as a hurricane, passing very close or over Jamaica and towards Western Cuba and the Yucatan.
So that cone was real.
Yeah, that it was. That's the latest forecast right there.
One of the questions that I
On
have,
point.
real quick.
Sorry?
Oh, I was gonna ask, with any of these, with the storms that are kicking up in the Atlantic, is there any chance that us on the Northeast could finally get something this year?
I don't think it's going to be this storm, but could even be the one after it, actually. That could end up going up the East Coast.
You never know.
No, thank you. I'm good.
It's more likely with the second
chilling.
one, but we'll have to see.
We do not need more activity.
Craft Blocks, thanks for joining us. Thanks for becoming a member. Some other comments here. Do you think this can actually become a Category 4 by the time it gets to the Caribbean? Well,
no chance.
No.
Well,
It would have to explode within the next 48 hours.
It would. But I'm a person that never really says never, and this is the kind of field where some unbelievable things can happen. But in a reasonable world, it shouldn't become a Category 4. But Category 3 currently on the forecast, 115 mile per hour peak from the National Hurricane Center on Monday and Tuesday.
Probably don't get 120. It'll probably
I would genuinely be shocked if this is Category 4.
I'd be genuinely surprised.
120 peak. Just gonna say it out now.
And those who are wondering, the cone did shift slightly south as well.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now it's
So
not
if
going to
it's
go north of Jamaica anymore. Now it's going to go south of Jamaica.
Yeah, it did shift.
Looking at the cone, it actually looks like it's going to be a bigger threat for what's it called? The Gulf of Mexico now. It's going to last as long as the hurricane.
Well, yeah, it looks like the more likely scenario, even though this is way too far out. But it looks like if there was any impacts to the United States, it would be closer to the Texas region. But that's
Yeah.
So we can't really say that.
It's a big question mark as to what happens later on in that track forecast. Suggestions that wind shear will weaken it substantially. I don't know, but the discussion from the National Hurricane Center is out as well. I'm not going to read all of it. I'll just read more about the forecast. The forecast has been nudged southwards based on the latest model runs. Obviously, its position as well. Steady strengthening trend since it formed yesterday, and its structure is more symmetric and compact. It likely will have an opportunity to rapidly intensify given the low wind shear conditions. The new forecast explicitly calls for rapid strengthening and shows Beryl becoming a major hurricane before moving across the Windward Islands. The environment becomes a little less conducive after that, and some increase in shear will likely end its strengthening phase and cause slow weakening towards the end of the period. The forecast shows more aggressive strengthening in the short term and a slightly higher peak intensity than the previous one, and is near the middle of the guidance envelope. Now, Chris, you wanted to talk to us about preparedness for this storm, obviously, with hurricane watches in effect now. Now is the time to be doing everything that you need to do.
Yeah, so kind of how you said it, Nathan. So when the best time to kind of stock up on supplies is you preferably want to stock up on supplies before a warning comes out. But if you are in a position where you really can't get out, the minute a warning is issued, you want to make sure you have sandbags ready. You have food that will last in the event of a power outage. In the event that you are put under an evacuation order, please, for the love of all that is holy, please heed those evacuation orders. We have seen here on numerous live cameras people not heeding those evacuation orders. And Nathan can agree with me on that we've seen that, and it just does not end out well.
Pretty much. A lot of people don't take it seriously, but I think that these islands, though, I think people will take it quite seriously.
One of the big things that is going to be covered is kind of in the post-storm phase. Depending on how bad the damage is what the emergency response will be. Now, I know this is kind of a different comparison, but I'm just going to make this comparison. When Sandy came through my state, when Sandy came through Jersey, it took a few weeks for a lot of people to get, taken out by the first responders because there was a lot of areas in water. That's why following the evacuation orders are so important, because not only does that mitigate the risk to your lives, but that allows us to be like, okay, we know that we don't have to go out and get you, even though we won't have an issue with that. We can focus on bigger priorities at that point.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They what people do is important to the whole community. How people prepare for storms, and it's in everyone's best interest to do so. Hurricane watches. If you've just joined us, the update came out from the National Hurricane Center. They are calling for a major hurricane now. They're calling for a Category 3 to pass through the Lesser Antilles, the Windward Islands, and into the Caribbean Sea. Hurricane watch now in effect for Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Grenada, and a tropical storm watch for Martinique and Tobago. We're expecting up to 6 inches of rain from the storm as it moves through, winds of at least 100 miles per hour and possibly higher than that now, and a storm surge of between 5 and 7 feet above normal in the hurricane watch areas. Let's get on to some of the key messages from the National Hurricane Center as well, but first of all, did someone want to say something there?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what do you think was the main reason why they chose to make the forecast a Category 3? Calling for
it will be models that they've gone with there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was unsure if it was due to conditions, but it does seem like most of the models, except for the ECMWF, had called for it reaching Category 3 winds. So that's probably why.
So there's the key messages right now. Beryl expected to rapidly strengthen and be a major hurricane when it reaches the Windward Islands late Sunday night or Monday, bringing destructive hurricane force winds and life-threatening storm surge. By the way, you hear the wording there means the forecast has been brought forward a little bit, saying possibly Sunday night rather than Monday morning. Heavy rainfall, localized flooding expected across the Windward Islands Sunday night and Monday. Interest in the Central and Western Caribbean should monitor the progress of this system. Users reminded that there is large uncertainty at days 4 and 5 and to not focus on the specific details of the track and intensity forecast. Which people do, because it's natural, I guess. Yeah. Let's take a quick look at the GFS from their last run. We showed you a little bit before, but just to show you what happens with Beryl. So there it is right now, initialized on the GFS model. The initialization is actually quite high there, just a minute. Well, maybe not actually. 60 miles per hour is what it initialized at earlier this morning. And this is what the forecast shows. It becoming a substantial hurricane. By the time it gets to the Lesser Antilles, there it is, just past the islands. And at that point, it is borderline Category 3. Moving into the Caribbean. Still staying strong for a while, and then towards Haiti and Jamaica, just threading between them there. Still a hurricane by that point, and then weakening further by the looks of things due to high wind shear. And clipping the Yucatan, moving through Cancun probably, and still a tropical storm just about there in the Gulf of Mexico. Then it stalls for a while, or moves slowly, and then blows up again. Although the ensembles don't actually see that happening, but that is a borderline hurricane making landfall in Texas on the 11th of July. We'll wait and see on that one. Now, behind it, people have been asking about this second feature. There's that other area of interest, becoming a substantial storm and a hurricane once again, a second hurricane. Landfall possibly in Barbados there on that run, and then moving through St. Lucia and then into the Eastern Caribbean, also becoming a substantial hurricane, probably Category 2 there, at least high in Category 1. Slams into Dominican Republic and poof, it's gone. Completely decimated by the island. And, well, some of its remnant energy does make it to Florida, actually. Brief little attempt there, but it doesn't really manage. So, really struggles by that point. But that's the story of these two tropical cyclones that could become significant hurricanes, both of them, in the next few days. Just have a quick look at the other system, 94L, moving into the Bay of Campeche. GFS not really keen on that. Tries to develop a circulation, but really fails. And off the back of that, Eastern Pacific might finally get its first tropical cyclone. There it is, around the 4th of July. And is quite a short-lived one and doesn't really affect land. Maybe some gusty winds along the coast of Mexico, but not much to tell you about that. So it's a busy period in the tropics and a major situation developing with a major hurricane forecasted from Beryl, which is really going to be giving everyone the wake-up call that we've been well, some of us have been expecting, and it's been a little bit later than expected for many of us as well, to finally get a system that could be a significant one. But obviously we are concerned about it. Major hurricane impacts looking more likely. We're going to be finishing up shortly, so I just want to throw it to the team if anyone wants to add anything right now.
Pretty much for those who are in the path of Beryl, start preparing now and evacuate while you can.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna, if I can add on to that real quick, if I may.
Or know what the storm can do.
Go ahead.
Yeah, guys, I go kind of sound like a broken record when I say this. Please listen to the evacuation orders. If you're put under one, just leave. Heat it. It makes it a lot easier, and you're not having to deal with, your house potentially getting flooded with you in it.
Yeah, this should piggyback off of what's said already.
I can call out many.
You never know what Beryl.
I can call out many situations where people heeded the evacuation warnings and then much less deaths occurred. So realize that it really is helpful.
I mean,
before we finish up, I want to point out that we'll be doing updates across social media, and we've got our automated stream that's running all the time. I'm going to try and plug it in here so that it goes straight to the automated stream after we finish. So that would be like a little seamless transition there. Is it that one? I can't even remember which one's which here. Yes, it's that one. Okay. That's been streaming for nearly a month now, non-stop. But anyways, anything else from our team just now? And I'd look for one or two more questions here as well from the viewers.
just piggybacking off of what everybody said already, you want to heed these warnings. Even though a lot of you in the Leeward Islands, you're used to tropical impacts and everything, you gotta heed these warnings because a potential major this early in the year, it's a big deal. You can't just sleep on this and expect it to be all right because you quite literally never know what could happen. So heed the warnings, get out of there if you need, if you have evacuation orders, and prepare for the worst.
Thank you, JJ. Dang Ha says, when will the 12Z runs start coming out? They'll be coming out very shortly, in about, well, in the next hour you'll start to see them appear. Icon's usually first, GFS after that. So
then the Euro.
Yeah, Euro's usually quite late. And MTRA, and a lot of numbers there in your name, says, meanwhile, Central Pacific, Hone still. Yes, that is still the next name, and that's been the case for 5 years.
And for
We're still waiting.
Crazy stuff.
Well, I just want to say, just keep an eye on the storm, and be safe. If you hear if a warning is up and told to evacuate, please listen to it because don't put your life at risk for like mostly the storm surge. So
that was louder than I expected. We're finishing up here our short stream. We're throwing it to our automated coverage now, but we will probably be live again tonight with more coverage on Tropical Storm Beryl, which may well be a hurricane by then.
Yeah, it might be a hurricane by the time we go live later.
Yeah. Will be.
My gosh.
It's definitely going to be very close to a hurricane if we go live tonight.
It's going to be surprising if it isn't a hurricane.
Mm-hmm. And plenty more coverage besides. But our automated stream is always updating. I'll be straight over there to plug in all the new numbers and watches and warnings on that as well, so be a bit patient on that. And we'll probably have a few more updates and videos across our channels and social media. But from now, from our team, thanks everyone for joining in our team, by the way. It's nice to hear all of your input. And thanks for watching. We'll see you again in the very near future, because this storm has the potential to be an early shocker and a bit of a wild one. But as of right now, we'll leave you with these images of Beryl.
And the words of Third Eyed Blind, goodbye!
Oh my god, Justin.
My God.
I had to. I couldn't do this. I had to do it. Yeah, we've already got almost 9 tenths of an inch of rain here, but as of now we're at 0.89 inches. And it's still raining too.
Main issue here is the heat. We're off, and absolutely.
it feels good to be back online. I have to wait.
Also, off topic real quick, there was a magnitude 3.4 earthquake on eastern Lake Ontario last night.
Not again.
Yeah, there was a magnitude 3.
I forgot where.
Yeah, I got it.